I want to transition over into live site reviews. Mark and Lynn, can you stick around, maybe have some comments for some of the sites being reviewed?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is a site, I've actually talked to this store owner, Ryan, over at Big Happy Buddha. Lynn and Mark, can you see that on your screen too?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Big Happy Buddha. Let me tell you, this guy, I hope he's watching here today. I think he's on the webinar. This guy has got the personality to inject into a store like that. I mean, when you're talking to him, you feel like you're talking to a Big Happy Buddha. I mean, this guy has got the personality. He's got so much charisma and enthusiasm. But, you know, his site, in my opinion, is lacking the kind of personality and the kind of authority that I think is needed for this kind of store. I mean, if you look throughout the store, he sells anything from, you know, cheaper $25 items. But if you go into, let's say, Buddha garden statues here, you can see how there are a lot of more expensive items, $375, $400. I mean, anybody that's going to buy a Buddha statue here needs to feel like this size authoritative. They've got product. If you're into Buddhism and or just now, you know, getting into these types of products, you need to make sure that this site makes you feel emotional about what, I guess, attracted you to Buddhism in the first place. And I think the site needs to reflect some of that. Mark, would you agree in kind of the emotion that I'm talking?
Absolutely, and I can relate to this site on some level because, you know, we sell items that are in the same ballpark, you know, sell statues that are roughly the same amount of money. And I think that the site could benefit from a design that has a more Eastern feel to it. Yeah, the site is very white, for lack of a better term. But you know, if someone is going to visit the site and spend that amount of money on a statue for their garden, then it needs to reflect that.
Yeah, and Mark, one of the things I'm thinking too is like with the logo. I mean, it's putting the happiness out there, but I think using the stock art of the Buddha there, that's going to turn into mud if you shrink the logo a little too small. I'd like to see something a little bit more streamlined, more iconic for the Buddha. But I think you got to toe the line between that fun aspect and the high-end aspect. Real quick before we move on to the next site, I think with the item page here, all of a sudden the site widened tremendously from what we saw previously. Now you've got this tiny titled "You Might Like These" in the cross sell. It kind of juts out. There's no real structure to the way the header is organized, and so you have a lot of floating elements.
Eric,
Yes?
I don't really like that. You might like these on the side.
Okay.
My first reaction to that was it's AdWords. It looks like an AdWords ad.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the add to cart needs to pop a lot more too. I mean, the left nav, in my opinion, should not be here. I think if he can consolidate into a top nav, you can focus more on the image. I like the big product image. Do you like that?
Love that.
Yeah, I think that showcases the product more, but I agree with what you're saying on the left nav. Let's zip over into simplybags.com, simply-bags.com. Here you've got a site that's just, using the straightforward Yahoo template. They haven't done a lot of customization beyond the graphics that they're putting here. But I think even with what you have done with the logo and whatnot, one of the things I would encourage people to not do is to put a specific product photo in your header. I see that a lot on some of the older sites. And what that's doing, in my opinion, is being too specific about the products you carry. So if you're not into red purses or whatever that is, that may be off-putting, especially if you see this ad external of the site. You may not get a 100% accurate view of what Simply Bags carries, especially if you're a guy that doesn't need a red purse. But as you can see here in the left nav, you've got a lot of different types of products here. I mean, whether it's diaper bags, my wife would enjoy those. And I think the home page needed to show that a little bit better. If you look in the section pages you see here, and this is something I'm starting to see on virtually every webinar that we do, people that submit their sites for review, they'll put images here of products. I mean, you got this teddy bear and this pink bag, and if I want that, it just goes to this image, this super large image of the product. And so I don't know what I have to do to get this bag. You're given this prime real estate, but in terms of merchandising, I think it fails in that degree. Would you agree, Mark or Lynn?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be frustrating for a customer. I hate it when I'm searching for something online and I see a picture, I go to that picture, and either I go to a different page, I can't find the product. If you have a picture, you want to be able to have a way to buy what you're seeing.
Right. Let's zip on over to myfairytalebooks.com. Now, this is a store that sells personalized books. If you've got a little one like I do and you want to actually have the book catered to your little one with the name, et cetera, you can see, I like how you've got the graphic here. This is evidently Maya. But I think that, to me, because of the unique nature of this store, they need to sell that unique nature a little bit better. I mean, it's a little bit, I think, standardized in terms of what a typical store would be laid out like. And I think there needs to be a little bit more of a sense that this is the source of these types of products. You're not just a reseller. From a usability perspective, one of the things I see right away is here in the top nav from homepage, about us, how to order. I mean, this, again, is super prime real estate that I think could be better utilized as a summary of the types of products that you sell, because there's not a lot of types of products on this store. I think you could streamline that very easily. In fact, if you look here in the left nav, they've pretty much done that. You know, personalized books, personalized DVDs. It's not a huge list of categories here. So I think you could do a good job maybe putting that in the top nav. And what that'll do is that'll yield more real estate to do what I was saying earlier, explain what kind of store this is, give a visual summary of the kind of products you can expect to have. Real quick, I want to go to the product page. I want to show you what I'm seeing here. So here I am with the Sesame Street page, and as a user, okay, I'm trying to, okay, how do I get this book? And I see 5 stars, that's super prominent, but then I see personalize and order and view sample, and what I would say is subconsciously, view sample is more dominant than personalized order with the green versus the gold. You seeing that, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely jumps out more than the personalize and order button.
And see, personalize and order is what you have to click on to get this thing. And notice how view sample and product information and even product ratings down below have these green boxes. So view sample just kind of blends in with that. But notice how when you click on personalize and order, all of a sudden then you see this pop-up box. Lynn, you talk about a button that blends in the background. Look at this add to cart button down here. You see that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It blends in. I think what I would recommend is to somehow get that functionality, even if it's hidden up front, to get that functionality on the main page, because I think the pop-up box is a little bit jarring, and it's critical to the process, but being hidden like that, I don't know if that's working right. And the last thing I want to say here is be careful about the amount of color. You know, I've talked about view sample, product information, the green boxes here. But notice how even in your social media here, I mean, it's, you know, you might think, well, that's secondary. Nobody's really paying attention to that. It's over on the left. But that's more color that the user, their eyes have to contend with. And you want your eyes to zoom in right on personalize and order. Because one of my tenets of usability is you don't want to make people think. You know, if people have to think to figure something out, you've lost them. Let me zip over here to Healthy Feet Store. We'll do 3 others and call it a day. Your Healthy Feet Store. I think overall this site is doing a lot of nice things. Notice how, though, when you mouse over women's shoes, a couple things I want to point out. This product here, again, is not clickable. And this is, again, prime real estate to promote product. And if I want that boot, if I want that shoe there, I can't get it. And so it's kind of a bait and switch here. It's showing a nice image what somebody might like, but you can't click on it. Now, if you mouse over men's shoes, you see the same thing, kids' shoes, and you start to experience a kind of repetition, which is good, that kind of consistency. But then when you get to styles and brands, it's not labeled any differently, but there's no flyout. If I was reorienting this top nav, what I would do is to brand the particular product types, maybe in one color, and do some of the more informational things, foot health, top rated. Brand those differently. It's all in one big orange bar. And so it communicates to the customer that these are all the same types, and you can navigate these the same way, and you can't. And, you know, here we are, we're talking about putting personality into the site, and you all see the Dr. Jeff, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
You know, okay, but notice how, okay, it has Dr. Jeff, but if I want to click on Dr. Jeff, and I want, you know, none of this is clickable, and people will click on an image sometimes more than they will a text, you know, a text link. And so I can't click on Jeff here, but I see this orange button here, learn more about the doctor. Of course, that's clickable. And when I click on this, nobody, to me, it's like I'm trying to learn more about Jeff. I don't see anything about Jeff large in terms of a title on the page. I don't know if I'm going to read all of this at once. And when I see this video here, I don't know who this lady is. I'd like to see maybe about Jeff. I noticed it's 8 minutes long. What's your take on this, Lynn or Marc?
That's way too long unless you're imparting some really, essential information. I mean, you should keep your videos to 2 minutes or less if you can.
Right. Well, and keep in mind, too, I mean, Healthy Feet Store has dedicated a lot of real estate on their homepage to this page, to driving people to this page. So by nature of putting this on the homepage, you're promising an experience that's got to pay off. And so I think that, putting more love into this landing page because you're teasing it up on the homepage is pretty much required. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Well, let's zip on over to Global One Technology Group. To me, guys, this goes counter to what we've talked about today. Not in a bad way, but it's just the products themselves don't really support what we're talking about. I mean, if somebody's looking for HP parts, putting the owner, talking about the parts, et cetera, I'm curious what you think here. If somebody's looking for HP parts, they want to know, is it in stock? Do I trust this store? Is this store authoritative? Do I trust it? Is the price, realistic? And if so, I'm in and I'm out. I mean, it's like if you were carrying vacuum replacement parts. People are not browsing a lot over vacuum replacement parts, and I don't think they're doing this here with HP server parts. So what I would say put this search bar much more prominent. I mean, you've got locate parts in red, but then you kind of have to figure it out. 3 different drop-downs in the search, well, 2 different drop-downs in the search by keyword is not really wide. And if you think about what's being used up on this real estate here, you've got the logo, and you've got these graphics that don't really contribute anything really to the experience. You've got these people kind of staring at you. I don't think that they're really doing much for the shopping experience. A lot of clutter. So my big point here is just to streamline this thing, make it super easy for people to search for the parts and go from there.